Language is one of the most powerful tools available to human beings. It has the capacity to heal, to divide, to inspire, or to confuse. With a single phrase, wars have been started, and with another, peace has been restored. Yet the most profound truths rarely come wrapped in layers of complexity. Instead, they are delivered in the quiet precision of simplicity. Simplicity in language carries a weight that elaborate words often cannot. When words are clear, they leave no room for misinterpretation. When they are direct, they reach the heart without detours. And when they are simple, they carry the rare ability to stay alive in memory, echoing long after they have been spoken. The human mind does not crave complication, it craves clarity. Think of a river. When it runs clear, you can see the bottom, observe the stones, and understand its depth. When it is muddy, the water may still flow, but nothing beneath can be understood. Language works in the same way. The more excessive words cloud the message, the harder it becomes to grasp the essence. Simplicity is like clear water. It allows the truth beneath to reveal itself. This is why the great teachers, philosophers, and sages throughout history often spoke in simple phrases. Their wisdom was not diminished by the lack of ornamentation. Rather, it was strengthened because simplicity made it accessible and unforgettable. Complex language often creates an illusion of depth. It may impress the intellect, but it rarely touches the soul. True depth is not found in how complicated something sounds, but in how directly it can pierce the human heart. A sentence that is understood by all carries more weight than a speech that only a few can decipher. Simplicity does not mean lack of substance. It means removing what is unnecessary until only the essential remains. Just as a sculptor removes marble to reveal the figure hidden within, so too must language shed excess until the truth emerges clean and undeniable. The power of simplicity in language lies also in its ability to reduce resistance. When words are heavy with complexity, the listener begins to struggle. Their focus shifts from meaning to interpretation, from essence to detail. In this struggle, the truth may be lost. But when the language is simple, the words flow smoothly into understanding. The listener does not need to fight with them, they simply receive them. In this way, simplicity disarms. It allows the message to enter unguarded, where it can plant seeds of reflection. There is also humility in simplicity. Complicated words often serve the ego of the speaker, but simple words serve the heart of the listener. When we speak simply, we show respect to the one receiving the message. We are not seeking to impress them with our knowledge, but to share something valuable in a way they can hold on to. This humility is why simplicity feels authentic. The more natural the words, the more they reflect sincerity. And sincerity is what creates trust between speaker and listener. In moments of crisis, the human mind instinctively craves simplicity. When chaos surrounds us, it is not the long and complex explanations we remember, but the short, clear instructions that guide us. In such moments, simple words become like anchors, steadying us in the storm. Stay calm. Take one step. You are not alone. These phrases do not need grand expressions to have power. Their strength comes from their clarity. It is in simplicity that language shows its ability to comfort, to strengthen, and to direct human action. Simplicity also carries timelessness. Languages change, societies evolve, and meanings shift, but simple truths endure. When wisdom is spoken in simple words, it does not decay with time. It transcends generations. That is why the oldest teachings, those passed down orally long before they were written, survive in proverbs, parables, and short verses. The more stripped of unnecessary detail, the more portable the wisdom becomes. It travels lightly across time, retaining its essence regardless of culture or era. When we practice simplicity in language, we also train the mind in clarity. To speak simply, one must first think simply. This means cutting through the noise of endless thoughts and reaching the core of what must be expressed. It is a discipline of the mind. Instead of being entangled in decoration, the mind learns to recognize essence. And when the mind recognizes essence, it becomes less distracted, more present, and more powerful. Simplicity in language does not mean reducing everything to the obvious. It is not about neglecting depth, but about making depth accessible. It is the difference between locking wisdom in a book that few can read and carving it into stone for all to see. A simple phrase has the ability to open doors inside the listener, doors that complex language might never reach. It touches not only the intellect, but also the heart, and it is in the heart where true transformation begins. The art of simplicity requires practice. It demands that we let go of the need to sound extraordinary and instead focus on being understood. It asks us to strip away unnecessary layers until the truth stands on its own. Just as silence is often more powerful than noise, so too is simplicity often more powerful than complexity. When language is simple, it is not weak, it is direct, sharp, and alive. It cuts through confusion and reveals what is real. In this way, simplicity in language becomes not just a tool for communication, but a path toward wisdom itself. Words are not merely sounds that break the silence. They are carriers of energy, vibrations woven into syllables, expressions that reach far deeper than the ears that hear them. When spoken, a word does not vanish. It travels into the atmosphere, resonates with the mind, and penetrates the heart of the listener. In this sense, words are not neutral. They either build or they break, uplift or diminish, connect or divide. To understand the energy behind words is to recognize that language is not just a tool of communication, but a force of creation capable of shaping reality, relationships, and even the course of one's destiny. When a word leaves the tongue, it carries with it the intention of the one who speaks. This intention is the seed, while the word is the soil in which it is planted. A kind word can soothe even the most troubled spirit, while a harsh one can ignite a fire of anger that burns for years. The energy does not simply come from the sound itself, but from the state of being of the one who speaks. A calm heart produces steady, grounded words. A restless mind gives rise to scattered, sharp tones. A bitter soul pours out bitterness, while a compassionate one breathes comfort through language. Every culture has proverbs that echo this truth. Words are medicine, words are weapons, words can build a bridge, or they can burn it. Science too has begun to uncover what ancient traditions always knew, that sound, vibration, and intention affect matter, water, even the cells within the human body. If words can shape the physical world at a microscopic level, then imagine what they do to the inner landscapes of thought and emotion. Each sentence carries a frequency, a vibration that either elevates or diminishes the energy field around it. Silence then becomes the ground from which words emerge. When one speaks without awareness, words spill like scattered arrows, hitting targets unintentionally, often causing harm without notice. But when silence is honored first, words are chosen with care, each one carrying clarity and precision. The power of a word is multiplied when it is rooted in silence, when it is free of reaction and born instead from intention. In this way, the energy behind words is not only in what is said, but in the presence from which it arises. Consider the difference between words spoken in anger and those spoken in peace. The same sentence can carry completely different meanings depending on the vibration behind it. A command shouted in rage is not the same as a direction given with calm authority. A simple phrase like, "I believe in you," can be empty if spoken without sincerity, yet it can transform someone's life if spoken with genuine conviction. It is not only the words themselves, but the invisible current that flows through them that determines their impact. Many people underestimate the long shadows that words cast. A single insult can linger in memory for decades, replaying itself like an echo that refuses to fade. In the same way, a single compliment, spoken at the right time, can plant a seed of confidence that grows stronger with each passing day. This is the energy behind words. It moves beyond the moment, leaving traces in the hearts of others, shaping their self-image, their courage, their sense of belonging. To become mindful of language is therefore to take responsibility for the energy one releases into the world. Each conversation becomes a choice. Will this word heal or harm, inspire or discourage, bring clarity or confusion? It requires awareness to pause before speaking, to recognize that what is about to be said is not only a reflection of thought, but a transmission of energy that will ripple into the life of another. In this sense, words become practice, not merely tools for communication, but exercises in presence, compassion, and mindfulness. The energy behind words also reveals itself in silence between them. Sometimes the most powerful communication is not what is spoken, but what is withheld. The restraint to hold back a harsh word, the patience to allow silence to fill the space, the humility to listen instead of rushing to speak. These two are forms of energy. Silence becomes the canvas and words the brushstrokes. Without the blankness of silence, words lose their contrast, their depth, their resonance. In relationships, the energy of words determines trust. Promises spoken without alignment between word and action drain energy, leaving emptiness in their wake. Words become hollow when not supported by integrity. But when words and actions are aligned, when language is consistent with behavior, they create strength, stability, and a bond that cannot be shaken easily. To speak truthfully, then, is not simply about accuracy, but about resonance between the inner world and the outer expression. Even within the self, the energy behind words is decisive. The language one uses in thought, the inner dialogue that repeats each day, shapes identity and experience. To constantly repeat phrases of defeat drains vitality, while words of encouragement directed inward have the power to renew and energize. The body listens to the language of the mind, responding to the signals it receives. Self-talk is therefore not trivial but foundational, for it sets the tone of one's energy long before words ever reach another person. The energy of words also shifts depending on their timing. A word spoken too early may fall on ears not ready to hear. A word spoken too late may miss its moment to heal. But when spoken at the right time, with the right tone and from the right intention, words become more than communication. They become transformation. The vibration is absorbed not only by the ears, but by the spirit, leaving an imprint that continues to radiate long after the sound has faded. To understand the energy behind words is to move beyond the illusion that language is neutral. Every phrase is charged, every tone carries a weight. Every word is a vehicle for energy traveling outward into the world. The responsibility lies in becoming aware of this force, to align intention with speech, and to recognize that the silence before speaking is as important as the words that follow. Words are not simply what we say, they are what we create, what we release, and what we leave behind, carrying energy that moves through space-time, and memory. Presence is one of the most underestimated, yet powerful forces in human life. To be present is not simply to stand in a place or to sit quietly in a room. Presence is not defined by the physical body alone. True presence is the alignment of awareness, attention, and energy into the moment that is unfolding. When one is present, life is not scattered into the past or projected into the future. Presence gathers the fragments of the mind, pulling them into a unified state where connection can naturally arise. Without presence, interactions remain shallow, distracted, and incomplete. With presence, even silence between two beings can feel like a deep exchange, as if entire worlds are being shared without the use of words. Connection through presence is different from connection through effort. Effort seeks to hold on, to control, to force understanding. Presence requires no such exertion. It is the openness of simply being here, with nothing extra added, with nothing taken away. It is like water flowing into its container, adjusting effortlessly without resistance. When you are present, you don't have to demand trust, respect, or attention from others. These qualities arise naturally because presence itself communicates a sincerity that words cannot reach. Consider how often the modern world pulls awareness away from presence. Notifications, tasks, and endless streams of information scatter the mind across countless directions. In this state, a person may be physically in front of another, yet their energy is elsewhere. The eyes may glance but not see. The ears may hear but not truly listen. This is not connection, it is coexistence without depth. Presence cuts through this fragmentation. By anchoring oneself into the now, the noise quiets, and attention becomes a bridge that links one being to another. To understand presence, one must also understand absence. Absence is not simply being away in distance. It is when the body is here but the spirit is missing. Absence is when conversation happens, but words are empty of real attention. Absence is when gestures are made, but they carry no energy of sincerity. Many relationships suffer not because of distance, but because presence is lacking. Without presence, bonds weaken, no matter how close two people may appear. Connection through presence does not require constant words or elaborate actions. Sometimes it is enough to sit in silence with another person, fully attentive to the shared moment. Silence, when filled with presence, becomes alive. It is no longer emptiness, but a vast field where energy meets and exchanges. Such moments often linger in memory longer than conversations filled with countless words. The mind remembers not the phrases spoken, but the quality of attention that was given. Presence also transforms the way one listens. Most people listen with the intent to reply, to defend, or to offer their own view. True listening is rare. Presence allows one to listen without the interference of inner commentary. When listening is pure, the speaker feels seen, heard, and acknowledged at a deeper level. This creates connection not through agreement or shared opinions, but through the simple act of attention. Such connection heals misunderstandings and opens the possibility of deeper trust. But presence is not only about connection with others. It is also the foundation for connection with oneself. Many wander through life estranged from their own inner being, caught in distractions and external pursuits. To sit quietly, to breathe, and to anchor awareness inward is to return to oneself. This inner presence reveals the state of the body, the movement of the mind, and the stirrings of the heart. From such awareness, clarity arises, and clarity becomes the ground from which authentic connection with others can grow. Connection through presence requires practice because the pull of distraction is strong. The mind is restless by nature, always moving between memory and imagination. Presence is the discipline of returning again and again to the current moment. It is the training of attention, similar to how a blade is sharpened through repeated strokes. The more one practices presence, the more natural it becomes to remain rooted in the now, regardless of outer circumstances. Presence also carries a quiet strength. It does not demand, yet it influences. It does not dominate, yet it transforms. When someone is truly present, their energy shifts the atmosphere of the space they occupy. Others sense it, even if they cannot explain it. Presence is felt in the steadiness of breath, in the clarity of gaze, and in the calmness of movement. This is why great teachers, leaders, or even ordinary individuals who cultivate presence often leave lasting impressions. They embody an energy that speaks louder than their words. Connection through presence is not limited to human interaction. It extends to nature, to work, and to life itself. When walking in a forest with presence, the rustle of leaves and the song of birds feel alive, as if the world is speaking directly. When working with presence, each task becomes meaningful, no matter how small. Even the act of drinking water or preparing food can be transformed into a ritual of awareness. In this way, life becomes less about rushing through moments and more about living fully within them. Disconnection arises when presence is abandoned. The more fragmented attention becomes, the more distant one feels from others, from life, and from oneself. This is why cultivating presence is not a luxury, but a necessity. It is the foundation of meaningful relationships, inner clarity, and authentic living. Presence anchors us to reality, while absence keeps us trapped in illusions of past and future. When presence meets presence, connection becomes inevitable. Two energies aligned in the now create a resonance that is felt deeply, even beyond logic. This resonance cannot be forced, it cannot be imitated, and it cannot be manufactured. It can only arise when the noise of distraction subsides and the simplicity of being here is embraced fully. It is in these rare yet profound moments that one understands a connection is not created by doing more, but by being more fully present. In every tradition, every culture, and every path of wisdom, there are words that carry more weight than entire books. Words that are simple yet not simplistic. Words that are easy to speak yet difficult to live. And among these words, there are four that carry a secret code to transformation, clarity, and strength. They do not come from one tradition alone. They are not bound by language, or by culture, or by time. They are universal because they are spoken by the very fabric of life itself. These four words are not only for the lips, but for the heart, for the mind, and for the spirit. The first word is silence. Most people misunderstand silence as the absence of sound, but silence is not empty, silence is full. Silence is alive. In silence, the mind loses its constant need to react, to respond, to defend, to justify. In silence, we are reminded that life is not waiting for our commentary. It is already happening. True silence is not something you create. It is something you return to, because it has always been there. The noise of the world, the noise of the mind, they cover it, but they do not destroy it. When you embrace silence, you realize that power is not always loud, and that strength is not always forceful. A tree does not scream while it grows, and the river does not shout as it carves valleys. The universe works in silence, and in that silence, there is wisdom that words cannot capture. The second word is discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It is not suppression. Discipline is the art of consistency. It is the recognition that what you do every day creates who you are. Discipline is a form of love because it requires patience, dedication, and care for yourself and for the path you walk. Without discipline, even the greatest dreams remain as air. Without discipline, intention has no form and energy has no direction. Discipline means showing up when you do not feel like it, holding on when it is uncomfortable, and staying present when the easier option is to escape. It is the invisible thread that connects effort to achievement, practice to mastery, and vision to reality. The third word is surrender. This is the word that frightens the ego the most. The ego wants control, certainty, and constant affirmation. But surrender is not defeat. Surrender is not weakness. Surrender is the recognition that life is larger than your plans, and that sometimes the greatest wisdom is to stop fighting against the current. When you surrender, you do not give up your strength, you discover a deeper one. You realize that control is often an illusion, and that in your effort to hold everything together, you are the one who is breaking. Surrender is the ability to release, to accept, and to flow. It is not passive, it is an active trust in the intelligence of life. Just as a bird trusts the air beneath its wings, surrender allows you to move without carrying the weight of resistance. The fourth word is presence. This word is the key that unlocks the other three. Silence without presence becomes emptiness. Discipline without presence becomes mechanical. Surrender without presence becomes avoidance. But presence, true presence, brings depth to everything. Presence means you are here, not only with your body, but with your mind, your heart, and your awareness. It means the past does not hold you and the future does not pull you. Presence is the space in which life is actually lived, not imagined. When you are present, even the smallest action becomes meaningful. Drinking water becomes meditation. Walking becomes prayer. Breathing becomes connection. Presence transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, not because the action changes, but because the way you meet it changes. These four words are not to be memorized, they are to be lived. Each one contains a lesson that unfolds differently depending on where you are in life. At times, silence will be your medicine. At other times, discipline will be your anchor. At times, surrender will be the doorway you fear to enter, but the only doorway that will bring you peace. And at times, presence will be the reminder that you have not missed your life, that it is still here, waiting for you to return. The beauty of these four words is that they are not separate. They are threads of the same fabric. Silence gives strength to discipline because it quiets the noise that distracts. Discipline gives structure to surrender because without inner strength, letting go becomes collapsing. Surrender gives depth to presence because it removes the weight of control. And presence gives life to all three because it is the moment in which they breathe. When you reflect on these words, you will notice that they appear everywhere. In nature, in the body, in the mind, and in the rhythms of life. A mountain is silent, yet disciplined in its endurance, surrendered to time, and present in every season. A river is disciplined in its flow, silent in its persistence, surrendered to the shape of the land, and present in its movement. Even the breath carries these four words: silence when it pauses, discipline in its rhythm, surrender as it releases, and presence as it returns again and again. The danger is when words remain as words. They become decorations for the intellect rather than guides for the heart. The four words are not meant to be admired, they are meant to be practiced. To sit in silence even when the mind resists. To build discipline even when comfort tempts. To surrender even when fear clings. To return to presence even when distraction pulls. Each time you practice, the words stop being ideas and they become part of your being. The four words are not magical in themselves. They are doors. What matters is not the door, but the step you take through it. And each time you walk through, you discover that transformation was never far away. It was always within you, waiting for these words to call it forth. Discipline is often misunderstood as something imposed from the outside. People tend to connect it with rules, strictness, or force. But true discipline is not a matter of external pressure, it is born from within. The inner discipline is the quiet ability to govern the mind, to steady the emotions, and to bring clarity into actions. Without this inner foundation, the external world easily dictates what happens to us, and we become slaves to distractions, impulses, and habits. Inner discipline is the unseen force that makes consistency possible, the steady current that carries us forward even when the waves of life are turbulent. To understand the importance of inner discipline, one must first see how the lack of it manifests. Without discipline, the mind becomes restless. It jumps from one thought to another, never settling, never focused. This restlessness leads to anxiety, confusion, and an inability to follow through. Imagine a candle flame flickering in the wind. It cannot offer steady light because the air is unsettled. In the same way, the undisciplined mind cannot provide steady guidance. It bends to every influence, it obeys every impulse, and it wastes enormous amounts of energy chasing what is not essential. Inner discipline begins with small acts of self-awareness. It is the ability to pause before reacting, to create a space between stimulus and response. In that space lies the power to choose. A disciplined mind does not allow anger to control it, does not allow fear to dictate its actions, and does not allow desires to blind its judgment. The strength is not in suppressing emotions, but in observing them, understanding their nature, and deciding consciously how to act. This is the subtle art of mastery over oneself. Discipline also has much to do with consistency. The human body becomes strong not because of one day of effort, but because of repeated practice over time. The same applies to the mind. The inner discipline is forged when one commits to daily practices, whether it is meditation, mindful breathing, training the body, or studying with focus. Every repetition plants a seed of stability, and over time these seeds grow into unshakable roots. The one who possesses discipline does not rely on fleeting motivation. Discipline carries them when motivation disappears. There is also a connection between discipline and freedom. At first, this may sound contradictory. People often see discipline as limitation, as restriction, as rules that confine. Yet, in truth, discipline is the foundation of freedom. Without inner discipline, a person is bound by their cravings, bound by their laziness, bound by the patterns they cannot break. They are not free because they are constantly reacting rather than choosing. But when discipline is present, the chains of impulse begin to fall away. Freedom arises because the individual now has the power to act with clarity rather than compulsion. The inner discipline also sharpens perception. When the mind is stable and trained, it becomes capable of seeing reality as it is without distortion. A scattered mind misinterprets situations, amplifies problems, and invents fears that are not real. But a disciplined mind cuts through confusion like a blade. It notices what truly matters and discards what is noise. It focuses energy only on what is aligned with its purpose, and in doing so, it magnifies the results of every action. Discipline is therefore not only about control, but about directing energy with precision. There is a patience that grows with discipline. The world moves quickly, and many expect instant results. But discipline teaches the value of slow growth, the wisdom of allowing things to unfold naturally. A disciplined practitioner does not demand transformation overnight. Instead, they dedicate themselves to the process, trusting that steady effort will bring profound change. This patience is itself a source of strength, for it protects the mind from frustration and burnout. It allows one to persist when others give up, and it turns long journeys into achievable steps. Inner discipline is also linked with integrity. When one has trained the inner self, actions align with values. There is no need to pretend or wear masks, because discipline has cultivated honesty with oneself. The disciplined person does not betray their own principles in the face of difficulty. Their words and actions match because they have built a foundation of trust within. This alignment between thought, speech, and action radiates outward and inspires respect from others, not because it was demanded, but because it was earned. The path of inner discipline is not glamorous. It does not provide quick excitement, nor does it satisfy the desire for immediate gratification. It is slow, steady, and at times difficult. But it is precisely because it requires effort that it becomes powerful. Easy paths create fragile strength. Disciplined paths forge resilience. The one who has discipline can endure discomfort, can remain calm when chaos arises, and can continue walking even when the road is long and lonely. Ultimately, inner discipline is not about denying oneself, but about harnessing oneself. It is not about suppression, but about direction. It is the ability to channel energy toward growth rather than waste it in distraction. It is the art of mastering the inner world so that the outer world does not control you. When discipline is cultivated, the mind becomes a reliable companion rather than a restless enemy. The body becomes a temple of strength rather than a source of weakness. The spirit finds steadiness rather than turbulence. And from this center of discipline, one begins to shape life with clarity, purpose, and unwavering strength. When a single drop touches the surface of still water, something simple yet profound occurs. A circle expands outward, carrying with it the memory of that first impact. What began as something small, almost unnoticed, becomes an influence that moves beyond its origin. This is the ripple effect, the reality that every action, every word, every thought we create does not remain contained within us, but travels outward, shaping the environment around us and influencing lives in ways we may never fully see. The ripple effect is not limited to the physical world of water and waves. It manifests in the unseen layers of human existence, in emotions, intentions, and energies. A smile offered to a stranger, a word of encouragement spoken at the right time, an act of kindness extended without expectation. These gestures are like drops entering the stillness of another person's life. They move outward, influencing not just the one who directly receives them, but also those who later encounter the energy that has been set in motion. A single moment of compassion can shift the course of another's day, perhaps even their life, and that change can inspire further acts of kindness, creating an expanding chain that goes far beyond what the first individual could ever know. But just as positivity ripples outward, so too does negativity. A careless word, a harsh action, or an outburst of anger does not vanish into silence. It vibrates into the world, settling into the minds and hearts of those it touches. These ripples can spread quickly, manifesting as discouragement, resentment, or pain. A person carrying bitterness may unknowingly transfer it to another, who in turn passes it forward, perpetuating cycles of hurt. It is a reminder of responsibility, that what we release into the world does not stay with us but reverberates outward, shaping unseen landscapes and invisible pathways. Understanding the ripple effect requires awareness of interconnectedness. No being exists in isolation. We are constantly interacting with the web of life, influencing and being influenced in return. Just as one stone in a pond shifts the movement of water throughout, our choices shift the current of existence. The realization is both humbling and empowering. Humbling because we see the weight of our impact. Empowering because we recognize that even the smallest conscious act can bring forth waves of transformation. The ripples do not require grand gestures. They are often born of simplicity. A listening ear when another feels unheard. A steady presence when chaos surrounds someone. A word spoken with sincerity rather than haste. The essence of the ripple effect is not in scale but in authenticity. When an action comes from alignment with truth, its vibration carries a potency that endures. The water moves because the energy is pure. At the same time, the ripple effect reminds us of patience. A ripple takes time to reach the farthest edges. When one plants a seed of kindness, encouragement, or wisdom, the result is not always immediate. Often we do not witness the ultimate destination of our influence. But the unseen is not the unreal. Just because the ripple has traveled beyond our sight does not mean it has ceased to move. Much of life's most profound impact occurs in places where our eyes cannot follow. In this way, the ripple effect is also a lesson in trust. We release energy into the world, and then we allow it to move in ways beyond our control. Control is an illusion that tightens the heart and clouds the mind. The ripple teaches surrender. The knowledge that once the drop enters the water, its movement is no longer ours to dictate. We set it in motion, but the universe decides how far it travels, whom it touches, and what transformation it creates. There is also a hidden dimension to the ripple effect, the self. Just as water reflects the circles moving outward, so too do our actions return to us in resonance. What we create in others eventually echoes back into our own lives. This is not a mystical concept, but a natural law of energy. When one spreads kindness, one often finds kindness awaiting in return. When one spreads negativity, one encounters environments filled with friction and resistance. The world mirrors what we place into it. The ripple that began outward also circles back, reminding us of the inseparability between self and other. In times of difficulty, it is easy to underestimate the significance of small actions. The mind often convinces us that only great accomplishments shape the world. Yet history, and even daily life, shows otherwise. A single word of encouragement has altered destinies. A single compassionate act has saved lives. A single decision to stand firm in integrity has inspired countless others. These are the quiet ripples that carry immeasurable force. To live with awareness of the ripple effect is to live with intention. It is to pause before speaking, to choose consciously before acting, and to reflect before reacting. It is to recognize that our presence carries weight and that every choice either nurtures or disrupts the harmony of the whole. The ripple does not ask us for perfection, but it does invite us into responsibility. Each drop we release is part of the larger pattern of life, and the direction of that pattern depends on the quality of what we contribute. The ripple effect also reveals the illusion of separateness. The drop and the water are not truly distinct, they are part of the same continuum. Likewise, the self and the other are bound in the same field of existence. What one does to another is, in a deeper sense, what one does to oneself. To wound another is to wound the collective, which inevitably circles back to the individual. To uplift another is to uplift the whole, which also nourishes the individual. The ripple is both personal and universal, intimate and infinite. When observed in this way, life itself becomes a vast ocean, constantly receiving drops and endlessly producing ripples. Every being contributes, knowingly or unknowingly. The question becomes, what quality of ripple do we wish to create? The choice is not made once, but again and again, moment by moment, action by action. Some ripples will be forgotten, but others will travel across time, leaving impressions that endure for generations. The responsibility is immense, but so too is the opportunity. The ripple effect is ultimately a reflection of consciousness. What we hold within radiates outward. If the inner state is chaotic, the ripples will disturb the waters. If the inner state is balanced, the ripples will bring calmness. If the inner state is aligned with clarity and compassion, the ripples will awaken and inspire. It begins with the drop, but it does not end there. The ripple continues, and in its continuation, it tells the story of how energy moves, how influence expands, and how even the smallest beginning can unfold into boundless impact.